The show must go on. We hear that time and again, usually when there's a minor accident just before a show, and performers announce their intention to carry on in spite of the setback. Legend has it that the saying originated in the early 19th century with a more ominous overtone. Circuses were a popular form of entertainment, with lions and tigers as the main attraction. When the ringmaster announces the show must go on, it usually means some ferocious animal has just escaped. In other words, do not panic. Those who remain seated are rewarded with an improvised show, albeit without the main attraction, but the show goes on. Today, the show must go on. It's a creed for everyone associated with staging a show, from artists to producers, from backstage crew to front of house staff, from Freddie Mercury to Andrew Lloyd Webber. There's little danger of facing an escaped animal in today's theatres and concert halls. Instead, live performances are confronted with a 21st century threat. Without sounding too ominous, I shall call it the disruption of online consumption. The internet delivers live concerts, live theatre, performances of all descriptions right into our living rooms. These are available on demand at a relatively low cost. We get treated to close-ups, to panoramic views, to multiple camera angles, views we don't see when attending events in person at a physical venue. Plus, we get the stop and start button for popcorn breaks. So the big question is, what's going to happen to our live concerts and live theatre? Will they be replaced by live streaming and digital recordings? Will this be the audience of the future? After nearly 40 years of working in the performing arts, I've come to believe we will always be venturing out to seek a live performance when the opportunity arises, when the budget is right. We have a strong drive to see and participate in person. My work involves the selection, the contracting, and the presentation of artists in music, dance, and theatre. These range widely from symphony orchestras to Broadway tours, from jazz to popular music, from classical ballet to comedy festivals. So far, I've been lucky and have had no falling chandeliers or seriously injured performers. I guess that qualifies me to make a couple of interesting observations about audience motivations. I've noted 3 compelling motivations that drive audiences to live performances. Even when digital versions are readily available, the first has everything to do with the sharing of experiences. For live audiences, the sharing of responses and reactions come naturally. They're in the same physical space, the same visual space, the same communication zone. This results in a motivation known as the amplification effect of shared experience. It arises from our tendency to share moments of joy, of sorrow, even of uncertainty. Studies by leading researchers suggest that the sharing of experiences amplifies the magnitude of the communal feelings, rather like that extra kick we get when sharing a drink with our friends. In contrast, the sharing of online content seems more remote. Sharing is mediated by all of cyberspace and sharing platforms. A recent report by a newspaper describes sharing platforms as providing connection without communication. We're less vocal than we would have been in the midst of a cheering crowd. Social amplification generates the spontaneous energy that live audiences enjoy. It transcends even the convenient connectivity of the internet. The second motivation for live attendance is about how we are engaged physically and mentally. The difference between physical engagement and embodied engagement. We get a fair amount of realism from our virtual and mixed reality events. This hybrid bungee jump in Korea seems pretty scary to the participants. Best thing is they don't need to jump off a cliff. So we should find out what makes the actual real event itself different without having to jump off a cliff. To get a satisfactory answer, we will need to borrow a page from the neurologists. Here's how it works. Besides our external senses like touch, vision, and hearing, we have an internal sensory system, the somatosensory system. This detects actual physiological participation. It eludes the externally simulated inputs suggested by augmented reality devices. It takes both the internal and external sensory systems to generate an embodied engagement. The embodied engagement being our total involvement, mental and physical. In a way, virtual events can take us to the show, mind over matter, whereas physical events take us there, mind and matter. Our theatres and concert halls are specially designed to fully engage us in person, to conjure up multi-dimensional images we can retain and recall. That means if we are seeking a totally immersive experience, we'll be attending a show physically rather than digitally. The third and final motivation for audience participation stems from something within our nature that we love and hate, FOMO, or fear of missing out. That tinge of regret we feel when we miss out on a good deal or a great show. We overcompensate and end up joining long queues for things we don't really need. The root cause is the perceived scarcity of supply. Live performances are frequently one-offs or limited runs, creating not just the impression of scarcity, but most times an actual scarcity. Miss it and you lose it. Now, the big difference between online content and a live appearance is that it is always possible to retrieve and revisit online content. Not so for live shows. They are practically one of a kind. Each bears the distinctive hallmark of a specific performer, shaped by a unique occasion and a unique audience. They generate the excitement of risk and spontaneity. There can be no retakes, no reruns, no touch-ups. More importantly, live audiences have been known to inspire artists to perform in extraordinary ways. That's something we would not want to miss. Also sounds to me like an excellent excuse for FOMO, our fear of missing out. We've come a long way since the days of escaping lions and tigers, when our MC announces the show must go on. It would mean a different threat, the internet disruption. Will our night out at the theatre be replaced by a solitary view on a digital screen? Fortunately, the internet is as generous as it is invasive. It has spawned a new and rapidly expanding generation of online arts consumers, including those who previously have had little or no interest to go to a live event. Undoubtedly, some will be curious enough to check out a show they have discovered online in person at a physical venue. Those working in audience development, including public arts agencies, artist managers, promoters, readily recognize this spillover effect. There's no shortage of attractive and targeted incentives to facilitate the crossover from digital to physical. This expanding audience base is exactly what keeps live theatre, live concerts alive and well. The internet is not the tiger we once feared. The next time we hear the show must go on, it would not mean there's a ferocious animal on the loose. Instead, it would signify that the curtain is about to rise to a continuing era of live concerts, live theatre, and I can bet with live audiences.